Every Texas gardener I talk to has the same problems. Deer eating everything, nothing growing under that live oak. The one hot, dry, sun-blasted corner of your yard where plants just go to die. I get it, I've been there. But every single one of those problems has a native plant answered. And most of them are sitting right here. I'm back at Rainbow Gardens today, a locally owned nursery right here in San Antonio. Great place to find Texas native plants. And the folks here know their stuff. More on them at the end. But in this video, I'm gonna get into addressing 5 of the most common Texas gardening challenges with a Texas native plant. All right, so problem number 1, deer. If you've been trying to build a native plant landscape in Texas and deer keep eating it down to the stems, this plant right here could be an answer. This is Agarita, one of my favorites. And these leaves, they are seriously prickly. Not like a rose prickly, but like stepping on one barefoot might ruin your morning. My toddlers have had this experience. Deer know this as well. They leave it alone. And here's the thing, so does almost everything else with hooves or paws, which means it also acts as a nurse plant. It protects younger, more vulnerable plants growing around it so they can get established before wildlife finds them. But the Agarita is not just tough to the touch. In early spring, one of the very first bloomers in San Antonio, it puts out these tiny yellow flowers that are absolutely fragrant. You can walk the nature trails around San Antonio in February or early March, and the wonderful smell of Agarita will take over. Then comes the berries, bright red, tart, edible. My bush right now, I can see these light green berries starting to form. The birds go straight for them, or you can beat the birds to them, literally. Some people will lay a tarp down under their bush and knock the branches. It's also evergreen, it's drought tough, and it can handle full sun to part shade, and deer won't touch it. If I could only plant one deer-resistant native in Texas, it's this one. Problem number 2, you want some wildlife, specifically hummingbirds. You've tried the feeder, you're tired of mixing sugar water. Plant this instead. Flame Acanthus, also called hummingbird bush, and that name is not an exaggeration. I've had the Flame Acanthus in my landscape for over 3 years. The moment it blooms, hummingbirds show up. Every time. I haven't touched a feeder since. The flowers are tubular coral red, and they bloom from late spring all the way through summer into fall, right when hummingbirds need nectar most. It's also a host plant for the Texas crescent butterfly. But here's what I really love about it. The hotter and drier the spot, like this one on the edge of my property here, the better the Flame Acanthus does. That sun-blasted corner of your yard where nothing survives, this plant thrives there. Come winter, depending on how cold it gets, you'll see some dieback on the tips at a minimum. That's just its cold hardiness. Some winters it barely notices, others might die back a bit more significantly. You can leave it as is and do some tip pruning to encourage more compact growth, or if you really want to, you can cut it all the way back to the ground if you want to start fresh. Totally up to you. I've done a mix of both depending on the plant and the location over the years. Either way, it comes roaring back every spring, often bigger than before, and it spreads. We started with 4 plants, now we have dozens every single year to give away. If you want wildlife in your yard and you're in Texas, Flame Acanthus is one of the first plants I'd put in the ground. Problem number 3, bare ground. Maybe you got a bed that just won't fill in, or a patch of lawn you're trying to replace with something that actually does something, or a flagstone path that needs something creeping between the stones. Meet frog fruit. It's low, it spreads, it blooms tiny little white flowers almost continuously, and when it does, it's absolutely buzzing with pollinators. Butterflies, bees, wasps, moths. I've sat and watched our frog fruit for maybe 10 minutes and counted more species than I could keep track of. It's a host plant for 3 butterfly species, the fan crescent, the buckeye, and the white peacock. It handles clay, loam, caliche, part shade or full sun. It even takes some foot traffic, which makes it great along pathways. One honest note though, like our friend the Flame Acanthus, frog fruit will spread. And if you need a plant that stays exactly where you put it, this isn't it. But if you have space to fill and you want that space alive with activity, frog fruit is one of the best investments you can make. I planted mine at the base of a rainwater harvesting basin, and it has completely taken over that basin and another one, and I mean that as a compliment. What do I plant under my live oaks? So here's something worth understanding first. In nature, live oaks don't create a barren wasteland underneath them. They support a whole community of plants, shrubs, grasses, ground covers, smaller trees. The live oak and its understory evolved together. Many of us, not you, I know, have cleared all of that out, mowed right up to the trunk for years, compacted the soil with foot traffic, let leaf litter build up into a dense mat with nothing growing through it. And somewhere along the way, that bare circle under that tree just became the norm. Like that's how it's supposed to look. It's not. That's a disturbed condition. And it does create genuinely challenging circumstances to plant back into. Compacted soil, root competition across a wide area, dense shade, thick leaf litter, sometimes erosion, not because the live oak is hostile to other plants, but because we removed what belonged there and never put anything back. The good news is it can be reversed intentionally. This here is Coralberry, and it's one of the most underused native shrubs, I think, in Texas landscaping. You don't hear nearly enough about it. It's built exactly for these conditions, part shade to full shade, low to medium water. It naturally grows in shaded woods and thickets, and it spreads by rooting at the nodes where its branches touch the ground, which forms beautiful colonies over time, perfect for filling in under a large canopy tree like our live oaks. It stays relatively low, typically 3 to 4 feet, and it's genuinely low maintenance once established. But I think there's a great payoff as well with the berries. The coral pink berries, as you see this one here at Rainbow Gardens, already has, with a coral pink to deep purple, and they persist through the winter. Great feed for birds, and when everything else looks bare under your live oak, the Coralberry is putting on a little bit of a show. So songbirds, ground birds, small mammals, they all use it for food and for cover. You're not just filling in a bare patch, you're starting to restore what was always supposed to be there. Problem number 5, you need privacy. And maybe you've got a fence line that needs some screening or a neighbor situation that needs resolving. Not mine, they're great. Or just a bare edge of property that needs some structure. Most people reach for something like the Leyland cypress or worse, ligustrum. And then they spend the next decade fighting it. This here is Evergreen Sumac, and it does exactly what those plants do, but better and without a decade of fighting it. It gets about 6 to 10 feet tall, sometimes taller, spreading branches, dense, shiny foliage. It's fast growing and it's generally insect and disease free. And once established, almost no water needed. In early spring, the new foliage comes in a tinged pink. After a hard frost, it can go maroon. It's one of the most seasonally interesting plants, I think, or at least underrated on this list, and most people walk right past it at the nursery. And then the fruit, which is small, fuzzy, and red. It ripens in fall and is a major food source for birds. And yes, those berries actually can be soaked in water to make a tart tea that's high in vitamin C. The Evergreen Sumac is native to the Edwards Plateau and the Trans-Pecos, rocky, dry, tough conditions, which means here in San Antonio, right on the edge of that range, it's gonna be completely at home. So if you want a native screen that gives you privacy, gives wildlife a home, and doesn't ask much in return, the Evergreen Sumac is one of the best kept secrets in Texas native landscaping. All right, folks, that's 5 plants, 5 real problems, and every single one of them low maintenance, wildlife friendly, and adapted to survive a Texas summer without you babying them. That's what Texas native plants do. They belong here, just let them prove it. And if you're in San Antonio, Rainbow Gardens carries all 5 of these that I mentioned today, the locally owned nursery, great staff, and a genuinely strong selection of native plants to help you get started. Link in the description to find them. Please go say hello. And if you want to go deeper on getting started with Texas native plant landscaping, I have a free 7-lesson email series in the description, or you can find it at coryames.com/txnative. Everything I wish I'd known when I got started, completely free. All right, y'all, I'm gonna pick myself up a 5-gallon Evergreen Sumac here, and I'll see you in the next one.